just finished listening to some Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. To be true, it's such a hard thing to do. That's my shit right there, boy. That's my shit right there. Quick announcement. What's up, Ebony? What's up, JG? Quick announcement. Tomorrow at noon, sometime between noon and 1 p.m. Pacific tomorrow, we're going to review the Billboard Top 75 list. And although, of course, it's fucked up because it's Billboard. Billboard can't get shit right about music. But I do appreciate Billboard's attempt. So since they had a fairly decent attempt at creating a top 75 R&B list, we're going to review that tomorrow on this channel. Probably noon Pacific time, maybe 1 p.m. Pacific. No later than 1 p.m. Pacific, but probably about noon Pacific tomorrow. So be around on this channel to review Billboard's top 75 R&B list. So yeah. So, but we're gonna talk about, am I going to listen to Slick Rick album? I heard a couple songs. Slick Rick, I was never a Slick Rick kind of guy. Although I appreciate Slick Rick. Slick Rick never was my style of music. So although I do appreciate his art. They did the top 75 all time R&B singers, and we're going to review that on the channel tomorrow. What's up, Brooke? Go, no Orlando, appreciate y'all. But yeah, let's talk about this. So let's start off with the first topic. Then we're going to get into the Timbaland situation. Fat Joe, for those of you who don't know, was in a former assistant / background dancer, sued him for $20 million on a RICO, saying that Roc Nation was involved in abusive practices, sexually abusive, physically abusive, and all of these things. I don't know the details. Everything I'm saying is alleged. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not telling you guys to look at Fat Joe in any kind of way, or I'm not telling you guys to say that other guy's right. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. But Funky Town, the motherfucker. What's up, y'all? Mr. Salute to all y'all. I got to start off by saying I appreciate y'all in the chat room. I really do. We will put this shit on a subscribers only chat. So, man, right before I went live, I just got a fucking annoying nose hair. Right after I hit live, I would have clipped this motherfucker out of my nose before I got started. Had I felt this shit before I got started. God damn. Nose hairs go like right away, fast. Like nose hairs be good, then like right there. But okay, so for those of you who know, yeah, there is a RICO charge from a former Fat Joe assistant saying that Fat Joe basically like watching him screw other chicks. According to this assistant, Fat Joe flew out a 15-year-old girl from Europe and bought her a BBL. According to what was filed, I encourage you guys to go look at Tisa Tales, go look at I think Hip Hop Uncensored. A few of the channels did some really good breakdowns of going through the actual lawsuit. That's not what today's show is about. I'm also giving my opinion. I'm gonna give you guys the general overview of what happened. If you want the minute details, go to one of those channels that I'm giving to you. Let me turn this camera off real quick. And so that's how that's gonna go. If y'all want the details, go to one of those channels to get the details. So my thoughts on this is Fat Joe responded. Fat Joe is saying that he already handled the situation. This is somebody who, let's give the general response. This person is just a money grab, yada, yada, yada. But it sounds like some Diddy shit was going on with Fat Joe. He was over here, according to this lawsuit, it's a lot of similarities to Diddy shit going on with him. And they're also saying Roc Nation was aware of all the debauchery. But just like Universal was aware of all the Diddy's debauchery, and they didn't, But since Roc Nation has Jay-Z's face on it and is the minority cop, Desi Perez, they may have to actually face this lawsuit. Lucien Grange, remember he was a part of Diddy's original lawsuit? His ass got about that motherfucker within a month or two of that shit being filed, and they apologized. So he was basically on this shit. This nigga Napalm Spears said good, he won't be hosting BET. Oh, that shit was funny. Yeah, Kira Clark said, life lesson, always be in good standing with the people you know. All your business, take care of your people. Yeah, take care of your people. Yes, see, this is a RICO, but it's not a federal RICO. This is you can file a RICO charge in a civil suit. This is a $20 million civil suit. Make it very clear, this is not a federal RICO. No, it's not a federal RICO. It's not the feds aren't the one that filed the RICO. This is based off of a $20 million civil lawsuit from one of his male employees. But here's the thing about it. I don't know if Fat Joe did this or not, but in the lawsuit they mentioned how Cuban Link got slashed in an altercation with the Fat Joe camp. Talks about how different people have been used for physical problems. What's up, Sybil? What's PJ? What up? You're starting to see how, so what you're seeing is, in a lot of ways you're seeing like why so many people in music are quiet when it comes to Diddy. Not just music, entertainment, period. I didn't shave this piece right. I was lining my shit up. I was lining my shit up a little bit too fast today. I gotta go back in there and get this off right there. I'm just looking on camera like, man, I missed this part when I shaved. I gotta line that up. Anyway, I gotta line that up with my trimmer. This side good. I'm good over here. Yeah. Terrell Evans says, I started to side-eye all these civil cases when there's no criminal charges. What am I missing? Look, I'm with you, Terrell. Even though I do not like Fat Joe, can't stand him, think he's a culture vulture, think he's cap and full of shit, all that stuff. It ain't no criminal charges filed. Like at some point, like some laws gotta change about something. You should have to at least file a criminal charge and show it to the police and tell the police to reject it or some shit like that. All these people not going to the police, I don't know. And I am so not one to defend Fat Joe. Hell no. But I'm also the kind of person that somebody's a criminal, let them go to jail for what they did, not about how I feel about them. Let people get convicted for what they did, not how I feel. I don't want my feelings to separate a man from his family, you know? Ava Medina says, not gonna lie, Joe was messing with a shorty from my block when I was a kid. Hey, you know whether, but people like Cuban Link, salute to Cuban Link, he's been ringing the bell about Fat Joe. You heard what Gangu Roach said on the Star Report about how Fat Joe was taking money from Big Pun's estate, Big Pun's wife, by the way. Appreciate the tutorial. What's up, Watts? Fat Joe was taking royalties from Big Pun's wife as his estate for years, according to people like Gangu Roach. And Fat Joe spent time in prison for tax evasion. When you look at Fat Joe's character, when you look at what was said about him over the last 25 years, you hear two things. The people who love and support Fat Joe talk about how much of a gangster he is and how he'll walk up on you and how Fat Joe is, this tough guy, but he's very nice. And then you hear people like Big Pun's wife, Cuban Link, Lord Jamar, and different people that know him say that he's a scumbag. And then you hear about people who had business dealings with Fat Joe. You see the people that had business with him say he's a scumbag. What's up, man? So when multiple people who've done business with you call you a scumbag and you have shit like tax evasion, then that gets me to leave you a scumbag. But just because you a scumbag in that level don't mean you somebody who sexually assaults people. Those are two different levels of scumbaggery. But at the same time, when you move that way, then when these other scumbag reports come out, it gets people to look at you funny, you know? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. He did chill out when Roy Jones pressed him. Well, shit, that don't mean he ain't tough, nigga. Anybody would chill out if Roy Jones pressed him, nigga. Roy Jones, that's a cold motherfucker right there. Give him a little bit of a break, King Gambit. Scotty Jenkins asked a great question. Will that podcast come to an end? We'll see. That's a great question, Scotty. That's a great question. So, no, it's a God willing. Y'all funny. But the way Fat Joe moves, we created hip hop 50-50. And then when you add the fact that he dropped do people even know that Fat Joe dropped an album last year? That shit went, nigga, Fat Joe's album went double paper. And not even the good paper, that recycled paper that ripped when you erase too hard with your eraser. I remember that recycled paper you used to get in school. You try to hit that eraser, shh. That nigga Fat Joe's album went double paper. Nigga. And y'all saw how he did in that World Series performance with the Yankees. Fat Joe made the Yankees lose. Oh, he was on Godfather of Harlem. I'm glad I didn't see that episode because I stopped watching. No, I gotta get back into that show. I was just saying last week I saw the first season of Godfather of Harlem, and I didn't watch anymore. I gotta get back into it. Now y'all said Fat Joe's in the episode. Shit, I might not ever get back into that show now. Now that you said that. Yeah, the mob entertainment has been quiet as a church mouse. It's a bunch of see the entertainment industry is full of freaks and weirdos, you know, and it's freaks and weirdos that turn out new freaks and weirdos. Shit's been going on since the entertainment industry started. Bunch of wealthy freak weirdos, you know, that run these places and do freaky weirdo shit, music and movies. Felix speaks too. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. I'm paying. Yeah, Ava, what he did to Pun's family, like, when you hear what Pun's wife had to say, and then Gangu Roach saying the same thing, taking like millions of dollars a year for out of Pun's estate while Pun's wife had to work and mom was, that was just fucking crazy. Gangu Roach said like his mom had to like rob a bank or some shit like that. With his mom or his wife. Once somebody in his family robbed a bank in Pun's family because they took a penitentiary check and they needed the money while Fat Joe was collecting checks. Again, according to what was said by Gangu Roach. I don't know, I wasn't there. Yep, they say Big Pun wrote his rhymes, yep. So it's a lot of weird shit that follows that guy around. And I was gonna do a show on this, but other topics kept coming up. But I was watching, whose channel was I watching? I was watching Hassan Campbell's channel. I was watching Hassan Campbell. And Hassan Campbell had on a guy, not how he had a guy, it was some guy, he was responding to a Five Mics, the rapper Five Mics, part of the Terror Squad. And Five Mics was talking about podcasters and saying that, you know, podcasters only speak on negative things and what's going on the drama. And he was saying that, you know, you guys don't speak about what's going on in world politics and stuff like that. And I'm listening to him like, nigga, name one Terror Squad song that talked about anything that had to do with world politics. You mean to tell me you get to sell death and destruction through your music, but you get mad when podcasters respond to rappers? And then he said something like, and keep Fat Joe's name out your mouth. And he's like, he's telling people, like, podcasters, stop talking about Fat Joe. Like, no. I'm a podcaster, and as long as Fat Joe goes around talking some hip-hop is 50-50, and as long as he doesn't apologize for that and he keeps his lie up that, you know, Latinos created hip-hop and all this stuff, no, I got something to say because hip-hop is of my culture. And no, I'm not from the Bronx, and neither is hip-hop. There was a party that happened that people like to tell the story that was a creation. Did the rapping start the way they do things? Was that a spark out of the Bronx? Yeah, that was a spark. But what is hip-hop? Hip-hop is an amalgamation of all of the 19th century of black music. It's the blues. Hip-hop is the fucking blues. Down to the song structure. Vamping a 2-bar loop. In hip-hop, they vamp the 2-bar loop, do vamping a sample of a song. In the blues, they just play the 2-bar loop or 1-bar loop. A sonic example is Smokestack Lightning by Muddy Waters. Go listen to the song if you want to hear some rapping. If you want to hear hip hop, go listen to the song The Story of Bo Diddley by Bo Diddley. Bo Diddley's rapping and playing over a 2-bar vamp. Hip hop is the blues. It just takes rhythm and blues loops with a blues song structure and a blues message. It's just the blues. And you got some dude from some damn group called Terror Squad calling himself Five Mike saying that podcasters can't talk about. Yes, the fuck we can. Yes, the fuck we can. And like, go and watch Hassan Campbell's clip. You know, he says he has some really good. He made some really good point of views on to come to that. And one of the point of views that I like was just, look, y'all sold to us terror and debauchery, degeneracy, debauchery, lower nature. Who the fuck are y'all tell the podcast what we can't talk about when you gave us nothing to your music? You right, PJ. Them niggas is corny. Yeah, James Brown rapping, Muhammad Ali, Louis Jordan used to rap, the father of R&B, the guy. You're playing that young boy music. You're right, B1 Stacks. So Terror Squad wasn't even popular like that. But like, if Smokey Robinson is telling me to watch what I say, because I can listen because Smokey Robinson watched what he said. If Ice Cube comes out and says, hey man, why aren't you guys putting a message in what you do? I can listen because Ice Cube put a message in everything that he did, from America's Most Wanted to Friday to The Barbershop. He put a message in his music and his movies. If Ice Cube says that, I have to listen. If Nas says that, I have to listen. If, certain people say that, okay, like, okay, yeah, you did that. Damn, okay, let me check myself. Because Ice Cube said it. Ice Cube gave us songs like Us, songs like True to the Game. I need y'all to go on my Patreon. On Patreon, I broke down Ice Cube's Death Certificate album. That's up on my Patreon right now. Everybody here needs to be subscribed to my Patreon. I have lessons on Patreon, like for real lessons. Everything that I talk about, I go into deep analysis on Patreon. I have how they kill music up there. I have an analytical review of Ice Cube's Death Certificate album up there. I got a review of Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life up there. A review on Luther Vandross, Aurora Ayers review, Earth and Fire. I have Earth and Fire Decoded, to where I decoded the messages within Earth and Fire's music. I got how they killed R&B. I got how they took live music away out of the music. I got interviews with Dr. Logan Westbrooks, Bobby Rush. My Patreon is a university. So even if I don't post anything on my Patreon in a week, you guys there are over 200 videos on my Patreon right now. It's literally a university of music. So I need you guys to subscribe to that right now. Between interviews, I have a university of music over on Patreon. And I'm doing another music class to the youth. And also to anybody, but it's going to be no cursing, no smoking. It's going to be something that you guys can really show down to the youth. It's only $150 for 5 classes. That's $30 a class. I don't think that's a lot to ask because you're going to get fact sheets about artists. You're going to get workbooks. You're going to get playlists. It's very comprehensive, you know. So sign up for that also at DwannB.com. But so back to what we talking about. Appreciate that, Martin. Yeah, appreciate that. So yeah, the Fat Joe situation, which leads me to, and mind you, tomorrow, midday around noon or 1 o'clock tomorrow Pacific time, we're going to review the Billboard top 75 R&B artists. I'm gonna do a full review of the Billboard top 75 artists. All right. Yeah, Marvin Gaye's rapping on Trumpet, man. Rap has been around. Like, look, we've been rapping as long as we've been speaking English. Ever since we've had recorded music, we've been rapping. Cab Calloway rapped. Louis Jordan rapped. I mean, you would hear raps, you know, Fats Waller. You know, R. Kelly wouldn't make my top 10 R&B list. Tell you the truth, Mariah Carey. Nobody that came into music after 1975, honestly, would make my top 20. To me, I've studied this music shit. I go back to the beginning of R&B. My top 20 is gonna be comprised of people of the 60s and the 70s. I'm sorry, and I don't apologize. Actually, I'm not sorry. I don't apologize. I don't apologize for that. Now, if you're just really just into music of the day, of your day, ultimately you're going to pick the artists of your generation and I grew up on R. Kelly was my generation. But when it comes to music, I know how to step outside of what I grew up on and just really judge objectively. And I wouldn't put anybody after 1970 that came out after 1975 in my top 20. I just wouldn't. Because I look at the environment. Was R. Kelly dope as hell? Hell yeah. But R. Kelly comes up at a time, R. Kelly comes up in the early 90s through public announcement. When he comes up in 91 was what, Honey Love? 92 was 12 Play. We're now 20 years into the purposeful destruction of R&B. We're now 20 years into that. That shit, they started really fucking with R&B in 72 when they went after Stax Records, 71. That's when they started fucking with it. 75 is when you start, 1975 is when you first started seeing the effects of them fucking with R&B. So R&B was tainted. By the time we got to the 80s, R&B was milquetoast. That's what created a vacuum for rap to come up. As long as R&B was strong, rap music would have never gotten to the top if R&B stayed strong. Rap music, if R&B was done at its best, rap wouldn't have a chance. Hell, you can go back to the 90s and see that. R&B, even with a tainted R&B in the 90s, R&B artists were all bigger than the rappers. No matter what they talk about Tupac and Biggie now, but neither Tupac nor Biggie were as big as TLC in 1995. That's a fact. Neither Tupac nor Biggie was as big Hell, R. Kelly was bigger than both of them at that time. Tevin Campbell. Tevin Campbell was selling more than Tupac. Boys to Men, yeah. Whitney. We're not even gonna talk about Michael Jackson. Prince. I mean, the rap was still a fringe sound in the night in the golden age of rap. We're talking about the golden age of rap. This is when rap was at its best. Jodeci was bigger than any rapper or rap group. We can't go back and change history. Yeah, New Edition, BBD. And nigga, BBD, stop it. Stop it. No rapper was as big as BBD, nigga. And that was the side group to Boys to Men. I mean, not to New Edition. There was no rapper bigger than Johnny Gill. When Johnny Gill dropped My, there was not a rap song that touched My. Mary J. Blige. All these people were bigger than, and mind you, this is at a time, rap is now getting equal access to R&B. Now, when you're dealing with the early 90s, mid 90s, now you have all rap stations nationwide. The first all rap station was K-Day here in LA. But by the time you get to the early 90s, now rap is nationwide. They got their own stations. They have their own music videos. You had Yo MTV Raps. They got their own music video slots, shows, and they got their own radio stations. Here in LA, you had Power 106. R&B, rap, rap needed the most work to get to the top. They talk about rap now as if it's just a great, rap needed a lot of help. They forced rap on us in a lot of ways. And remember go back to the late 80s, early 90s. Every song had a rap breakdown. Them niggas had Bobby Brown rapping. Them niggas had R. Kelly rapping. Usher's first album was a rap album. Nigga, they had Shanice rapping. It was a rap breakdown on every fucking song. What's up, Brian Barnes? Appreciate that. So when we talk about rap, we're dealing with a form of music that if you listen to R&B, rap was put into your face, whether you wanted to hear it or not. Even when you get into the early 2000s. But by the late 90s, instead of having the singers rap, they started bringing rap. And that's where Mariah Carey gets her credit. Mariah Carey putting ODB and having a rap hook on her song, but she brought in ODB. Mariah Carey gets a lot of credit for popularizing having a real rapper. And yeah, I Love Your Smile. Shanice is rapping, yeah. And Michael Jackson, yeah, people forget. Michael Jackson did a hell of a lot for rap. Michael Jackson had Heavy D rapping on the Dangerous album. And he had Biggie Smalls rapping on History. Most of you rap niggas don't even know Biggie Smalls had a song on a History album. This is how big Michael Jackson was. He didn't even have to say Biggie Smalls and still sold 30 million of them things. Nigga, you gotta go and listen to the album to find out which song Biggie was on. Most people don't even know Michael Jackson had a song with Biggie Smalls. Because you gotta listen to the album to find out, because it do not say featuring Biggie Smalls. And I'm not gonna tell you, because I want you to go listen to Michael Jackson History album. It's one of the greatest albums ever. One of the greatest messages ever in an album. Hey, Bismarck T, please don't remind me that Stevie Wonder rapped at the end of Do I Do. You a cool brother, Biz Marty, but why the fuck did you bring up that terrible memory? Stevie Wonder's rap at the end of Do I Do was the worst shit a legend has ever done. And I know I can't rhyme, but I ha 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 ha. Stevie Wonder, nigga, I will punch sight into your eyes if you do that shit again. That shit was horrible. And this nigga Biz Marty had to remind me of that shit. I remember, nigga, I wasn't trying to bring it up. For a reason, I hated that shit. Hell, now one of the best raps was by that cold bitch Tina Marie. Shit, I almost want to bug my eyes like a coon when I mention Tina Marie and Square Biz. Tina Marie came with that, nigga, what? Tina Marie, she brought it. See, Tina Marie has so much soul, white folks don't even fuck with her. Like, have y'all noticed? They never try to elevate Tina Marie. She was the real, they'll elevate Mariah like a motherfucker. But they'll never want to elevate Tina Marie. Lady T was our bitch. From LA, Venice Beach. See, Tina Marie grew up in Venice Beach at a time, over there in Venice Beach in the 70s and 80s. In the 90s, Venice Beach was right by the ocean, but Venice Beach had Nazis, it had the Shoreline Crips, it had the Mexican gangs, it had a Hell's Angels set, and it was like, and it's like a surfer set. But yeah, the Hells Angels and the Nazis and the Shoreline Crips and the Mexican gangs all share a space in Venice Beach. And Venice Beach is small. It's a small area sandwiched between Marina del Rey and Santa Monica. Santa Monica, money. Marina del Rey, money. Venice Beach, ghetto. It's gentrified now, and it's money in Venice Beach now. But Venice Beach was ghetto as fuck back when Tina Marie was there. Hell yeah, Venice Beach was more dangerous than Compton and Watts in the 70s, yep. But that's what takes me to my next topic. A lot of people here on YouTube been talking about, what's his name? Timbaland. Timbaland is signed an AI artist, and you know, if you've been following the story, he's been taking, having different people on YouTube submit beats, and people are questioning if he's using those beats to program this AI. And there are a lot of producers and artists and people on YouTube mad at Timbaland for selling out music to AI. Appreciate that, Tanya. Yeah, it was my birthday the other day. I appreciate that. Nigga, Amir. So Timbaland is doing some shit, and I agree. It is goofy. You know, he's taking money to, you know, basically sell out music. But I'm a Gemini. Again, like I said, my birthday was 2 days ago. King of Clubs, Gemini. I'm split on everything. I have multiple points of views for almost everything. Is he really selling out music, or the music already sell itself out? This is what I mean when I say that. Take, for instance, a rapper like Lil Wayne, a singer like Chris Brown. Both We can fairly say in 2010, Chris Brown solidly owned R&B, and Lil Wayne solidly owned the hip hop rap lane. Solid, certified. This was their time. What did they use in their music quite often while they were on top? Auto-tune. They, instead of using the voice that God gave them and tuning that instrument that God gave them to perfection, they allow auto-tune to sing for them. What about these producers? Producers like Timbaland. Producers like, and some of these producers I'm about to name, I like them. So this isn't about who I like and don't like. So let's be a little more mature than like, don't like. I'm about to name some producers that I actually like too. But the bigger issue is the message, not who I like. But producers like Pharrell, Kanye with the say you wanna be, I wanna be, say you wanna be, having the little program Luther Vandross singing a hook instead of hiring a singer of today to create one. When you're dealing with the Travis Scott style production, everything on a computer, the producers have been for a long time, 30 years now, 35, 40 years now, been getting away 30 years now with giving us music on a computer and not hiring musicians to come in and play and take those notes that they wrote and give their human energy combined with their genius because of the 10,000 hours they spent on their instrument so that they can interpret those notes. The only way Wah Watson made Billie Jean and Off the Wall great was you had not somebody sitting on a fucking computer, but you had, that was actually Wah Watson playing those guitars. That was actually fucking Wah Watson. Do you niggas fucking understand how fucking great Wah Watson is on the guitar? And those licks that flavors that he brought? That was Greg Fillinganes on keys. Do you guys understand how fucking great Greg Fillinganes is? And the emotions he can put into a song? Behind Greg Fillinganes, you had Joe Sample on keys. There were songs, and I can't think of them off the top of my head right now, but there are songs on the Off the Wall album where you have Joe Sample and Greg Fillinganes on keys. You got strings, a string arrangement that wasn't programmed, but it was actually written pen and paper by Paul Reiser, by Jerry Hay. These are fucking masters. And in the last 30 years, let's just put it on a computer. So the way I see it is this. For all of the producers and auto-tune singers that are mad at Timbaland, you got to ask yourself, what role did you play? Because this AI music is just going to sound like what you've been doing the last 30 years. Drake Drake had 15 years of consistency feeding you bullshit music. Because ask yourself, what's the result? Okay, he's been the biggest love artist on the planet since 2010, but are people in love like they were in 1984? Are people in love like they were in 1995 and 1970? The music has a lot to do with the statuses of with the emotions of a society. What's the net result? When Drake got to the top of love music, that's when the kids started calling each other bro. Boys call girls bro now. Auto-tune, these programmed beats. You niggas have been setting it up for AI since the 90s. Really late 80s. But since the 90s, you've been setting it up for AI. You producers y'all stop bringing in real singers for sessions. The late 90s, everybody had to whisper. Yeah, 100 girls call each other bruh. They start in the late 90s. All of the singers, all the women singers had to whisper. You kick the power singers out of music in the late 80s, early 90s. We went from having Mickey Howard and Stephanie Mills, Patty Austin, those great singers. What's his name? Luther, Teddy Pendergrass. These powerful vocalists. We went from that to niggas humming. Y'all already set the stage for fucking AI, nigga. Yeah, we used to have Angela Bofield, Martha Wash, Freddie Jackson, Joe Levert. AI can't do that. We had Jennifer Holliday, we had Babyface, we had people who really sang. Keith Sweat. And you may not have liked Keith Sweat's voice, you may not have liked Anita Baker's voice, but guess what? That was their voice. And enough people liked their voice for them to have great long careers. You had Howard Hewitt. Everybody had a voice. Alicia Myers, yeah. Lisa Fischer. We had drummers like James Gaston. Like, people don't even understand, like, the feel of the drums. That's why I will stand 10 toes down against any of these drums of African niggas on the planet. Nigga, it's so much variation on drums between someone like an Omar Hakim and someone like a James Gaston. Completely different universes to the approach on drums between Dennis Chambers and Bernard Purdy, and the language, and having a song with it's just with these for Steve Gadd on drums versus Peter Erskine, and the difference between having Larry Graham on bass versus Verdine White. The novice just sees the bass, but there's a world of difference between Verdine White and Larry Graham. A world of difference between Bootsy Collins and Billy Bass, and both played in Parliament Funkadelic. Both Billy Bass and Bootsy Collins played in Parliament Funkadelic at the same time. But the language that they spoke on bass were completely different languages. Somebody said Rip Larry Graham. Larry Graham is still alive. Now Rip Sly Stone. Yeah. Marcus Miller on bass. Yeah. What about Sly Stone's brother, Freddie Stone, and the way he enunciated on guitar versus a Freddie Stone versus a Nile Rodgers? Completely different approaches and textures on guitar. But I got some nigga with a red, yellow, and green flag telling me, oh, that's African. Huh? Are you listening to what's being played? Nigga. The difference when you hear Wes Montgomery versus and how his influence on George Benson. But George Benson's style of guitar play is completely different than somebody than Prince. You got cats like even now, you got Jarris Mosey, J-Mo on guitar, and you got Gary Clark Jr. Both of these niggas is gods on the guitar, but their approach is completely different. It's a completely different language between J-Mo and Gary Clark Jr. Yeah, Stanley Clark. I saw Stanley Clark on bass. Like, Stanley Clark does some shit on bass that, like, is just otherworldly. You can't even use Stanley Clark in, like, a lot of standard songs. Because it's like, what the fuck Stanley Clark is going to do on bass? He's going to do some shit that's beautiful, but if you're dealing with a singer that has, like, a lot of vocal runs, if you put Stanley Clark on a song on bass, and he can play Disciplined, but if you put Stanley Clark on a song on bass with Shaka Khan, vocally, she runs too much. You need a bass player that's going to sit back in the pocket. Stanley Clark is going and if the song is something basic, you don't need that. Yes, Thundercat and Mount Neon. I remember I had a lot of conversations with my father-in-law about like James Jamerson. And I asked him, I had a conversation one time with him. I asked him, I said, how often did you use James Jamerson on bass? And he was like, very little. He said, and I love Jamerson. He said, and I had Jamerson record on a lot of songs, but we would always ultimately end up cutting his part out because if you hired James Jamerson, you hired James Jamerson to play a bass when you just needed a feel on bass. You didn't quite know what the bass needed, so you hired James Jamerson to give you what the bass needs. If you're going to actually write, because James Carmichael's structure to music was he should write his music out. And so he needed his bass players to play what he wrote because he wrote this part. Let me give you an example. That song, When Love Calls by Atlantic Starr. James Carmichael produced that song. And there's a part where it says, when love's call, it's a part, every time she says, you better answer, that was written because before that, the song was just playing on bass. Dun, 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 and every I think it's like every four is for songs like that. He needed somebody to just play that discipline, dun, dun. But James Jamerson wasn't gonna play dun, dun, and then wait till every fourth bar to go dun, 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 dun. He had, but on a song like Mercy, Mercy Me by Marvin Gaye, and I think Mr. Carmichael, he used James Jamerson on one of his Marvin Gaye songs because Marvin loves Jamerson. But songs like What's Going On, if you listen to that song, What's Going On, you're going to hear the beauty of James Jamerson because he floats his way. Another song to hear the beauty of James Jamerson is if you want to hear him on stand-up bass, listen to the song I Was Made to Love Her by Stevie Wonder, by Young Stevie. That's James Jamerson on stand-up bass. When James Jamerson got to electric bass, listen to the song called What's Happening, Brother by Marvin Gaye. It's on the What's Going On album. It's a song called What's Happening, Brother. And just listen to how he floats his way through that song. No producer can write that. That's a producer hiring a bass player to interpret that bass in a way that only a bass player can go. But at the same time, other bass players, you wouldn't necessarily want them to doing that. You hire someone like a James Jamerson to do that. Like, there's so much diversity within our musicians here in America that there's literally no time to talk about Africa. Like, people, if you really understand music, there's really, I'm just saying, if we're going to be fair, if we're going to have an honest conversation about the music, I'm just talking about having an honest conversation about the music. That's all. No agenda. There's so much these musicians are doing that if we were going to talk for about an hour on each musician, there's just not enough time to even talk about Africa. Because these individual musicians are doing so much that needs to be studied. You know? We've been cheated out of that. As listeners. And I don't necessarily blame the artists of today, because a lot of that has to do with the record company giving black music less budgets. And so they got to decide, am I going to use this budget on orchestration, or am I going to use it for promo? So that's how a lot of this happened, you know? And they still got to make that decision with the budgets that they get. You know, live musicians, that costs. You know, orchestration, string, arrangers, that's a lot more splits and cost when I can just program it. All right, keep programming it. But I'll tell you one thing. Once AI gets a hold of this shit and really gets put out, it's going to take all you programming niggas out. You programming niggas signed your own death certificate. You auto-tune rappers and singers, you signed your own death certificate. And it's probably too late. It is too late, as a matter of fact. It's done. It's over with. Like, 2030, AI is sweeping the Grammys, period. Now, the singers who chose to continue to use their real voice, they're going to be fine. The musicians who learn how to play in bands with others and perfect their instruments, they'll be fine. Because the human is always going to be attracted to real live music. It may not be the most popular. It may not win the Grammys. Its show probably won't get the most streams. But there'll be hundreds of people, thousands of people in every city ready to see you when you come into town, because nothing can replace the feeling of a live band. And your music is going to get streamed for a lot longer, too. Your music's going to still sound like, in 20 years, your music's still going to sound good, versus whatever comes out AI now in 2025 is going to sound like 2025 AI, because 2030 AI is going to be much better than 2025 AI. And 2035 AI music is going to be 10 times better than 2030 AI. So the way I reckon and see it is AI is always going to be out front and at the top. And that's done. That's done. You niggas, all you niggas that sing auto-tune and program everything, is you need as much blame as Timbaland. Don't just point at Timbaland. I'm not here to judge, but I'm saying you're a major part of this. Because what you did, and you may not have understood that, but what you did was condition the ears of the listener to not appreciate the live palette. And now the listener's here for 30 years. Now you have 20-year-olds who grew up and people in their 20s listening to Chris Brown sing, the top R&B guy of his time, sing auto-tune. That's what a 20-year-old thinks is standard music now. A 21-year-old, somebody who can legally drink, grew up on auto-tune being the sound. They grew up on program usher beats, not live orchestrations. You got people that are in their 30s. Think about it. You got people who in their 30s, who if their parents only had them around what was popular on the radio, they don't have a true appreciation for live orchestration and background singers because it was in none of their music diet. So that's what got the ear conditioned for it. That's what's going to make it possible for AI to be number one. It's because we're dealing with people that are now in their early 30s who've basically been listening to AI their whole life. Think about that for a second. That's what's going to allow AI to go to the top, is what the listeners conditioned to listening to. Listeners can't tell the difference between a bass player and an 808. And we're talking about the 85%, the people who are into the pop. Now, the good news, there are always going to be large groups of people resistant to pop, and there's always going to be something in people's spirit that's going to make them yearn for the live, authentic sound. If you stay live and authentic with your sound, you are going to get the people who are looking for that, and their dollars and their support is going to do more for you than people who are number one on the charts. Take, for example, Frankie Beverly and Maze. Let's use Frankie Beverly and Maze as a case study. Frankie Beverly and Maze never won any of the awards. They don't have any American Music Awards. They don't have any Grammys. They have very few. I don't think they have any number ones. I don't think hey, chat room, check for me. Does Frankie Beverly and Maze have any number one records? I don't think they have. They don't have. If they do, they don't have many. Most of their stuff barely cracked the top 10. I think Golden Time of Day may have been number one. Oh, Joy and Pain. Joy and Pain went number one, I think Joy and Pain went number one. But when the 80s came and music started to go, that black music started to go with the pop sound, with that fake, authentic, non-live instrumentation sound, Frankie Beverly, and they started to go real poppy. You know, you had cheesy ass songs like Just Once, Can You Find a Way? That cheesy shit. I love the song. But that cheesy kind of pop, Peabo Bryson, James Ingram, Howard Hewitt, They started making the black male artists and women artists go with this real strange poppy sound. I love the song too, but those songs are very time dated. They sound very 80s. And a lot of our black artists started going with that stuff, trying to compete with white yacht rock. Like Back and Try Can't Get Over You. What Frankie Beverly and Maze did was they stuck to keeping their band and they stuck to making music for black people. The whole industry was moving in the 80s away from the black sound. Go back and listen. And Quincy Jones had a lot to do with that. The album The Dude and stuff like that. Things started to go real popish. And I interviewed Dr. Logan Westbrooks about this on my, you can find it here on his YouTube channel and also on Patreon. Yeah, so Frankie Beverly Maze had 3 number ones on the R&B charts. No R&B, no number ones on the pop charts. He never went for the pop stuff. And as time went on with Frankie Beverly, as time went along, up until the year he died, up until a month before he died, he was selling out shows. He never got the big accolades while he was doing it. But because he stayed true to putting the ingredients in the music that we loved, he kept picking up new generations of fans. And he had me going to my first Frankie Beverly and Maze concert when I was 19 in the year 2000. First I went to go see him at the Universal Amphitheater. I was 19. Because I would listen to the radio, and I heard people for years talk about how they loved Frankie Beverly and Maze live. My dad's generation, everybody talked about how great his live show was. I went, and I was hooked. Went almost every year he came to LA after that. Saw him at Essence Fest 3 times. Frankie Beverly and Maze stuck true. Look at Anita, example number 2 for women, Anita Baker. Late 80s, when Anita Baker's coming out, 86, 87, that's when everything is going to this electronic sound. You even had Luther Vandross doing it on Stop to Love. Those cheesy 80s sounds that were popular, but most of that 80s shit stuck in the 80s. It's not timeless. Anita Baker came out with a straight live instrumentation like the 70s. With Sweet Love, and when Anita Baker dropped, she resisted what was popular. Anita Baker resisted what was popular and stuck to the classic way of making music. So now, 35 years later, coming up on 40 years later, anytime Anita Baker decides to do a concert, the motherfucker's selling out. Because she stuck to the authentic way of making music. You look at the neo-soul era, quote unquote, D'Angelo, Erykah Badu, Jill Scott. They're playing arenas, especially Jill Scott and Erykah. They're playing arenas that their contemporaries who were popular at that time could never fill. Ashanti was more popular than Jill Scott. Ashanti can't sell out the Hollywood Bowl. Jill Scott's done it at least twice. I was at both shows. I know, I was there. 3 times, actually. Ashanti's not selling out 18,000 seats without 15 other niggas from the 90s. And no disrespect to Ashanti. The popular people of the 90s, they're not doing live gate what Jill Scott and Erykah Badu's doing. And Jill Scott and Erykah Badu were not, they were the fringe. That's why they called it neo soul. Those two sisters were othered at the time that they were at their, we're talking 2000, 96, 97 for Erykah Badu. That was some fringe other stuff. That was like, oh, that's for the chicks that wear ponchos and burn incense. Angie Stone, these were artists that decided no matter what's going on in music, we're gonna record music the traditional way. Long term, those guys always win. Anderson .Paak is always gonna win. A lot of you hip hop niggas don't like acknowledging him because he's a dope ass MC too. Some of them hip hop niggas hate acknowledging the nigga that plays live music. But Anderson .Paak is gonna age well. As long as Anderson .Paak is able to perform, if Anderson .Paak don't ever put out another dope album, which I know he will, but if he never puts out another dope album, Anderson .Paak is always gonna eat because he records and does music the right way. Oh shit, my wife said Rocky's ready for a walk. Somebody get the fuck up out of here, y'all. Walk Rocky. Text me, she said Rocky over here ready to take a shit. Yeah, Maxwell. Maxwell sold out the Hollywood Bowl 3 times. I was at all 3 of them. When Pretty Wings dropped, I was at that album, that concert. Maxwell was othered. You feel me? That text my wife. Yeah, I like Lenny Kravitz. Neo Soul was othered. But those are the guys that's eating. All those Neo Soul guys, they're able to headline their own tours. Appreciate that, Jay Jones. Lenny Kravitz was rock more. He like It Ain't Over Till It's Over was more of an R&B type style song, but when you think of Lenny Kravitz, you're more so thinking of rock. And rock ain't really my thing. I ain't got an issue with rock, but I'm still here. About to walk Rocky. Actually, I'm gonna try to stay with y'all when I walk Rocky. But I'm close. I'm turning my camera out because I don't want you niggas seeing where I walk. But if this shit start pinwheeling, I'm gonna log off and I ain't coming back. All right, because I'm about to leave my Wi-Fi. So I'm about to leave my Wi-Fi. So if we stay connected as I walk where I'm walking, we good. But if we disconnect, I'll see you niggas tomorrow. Yeah, I love funkadelic rock. I don't like 80s and 90s rock. That's pretty simple. I like some Metallica. I like some. If I'm listening to rock, I'm listening to, what's the white boy's name? Vince Neil. Hold on one second. There we go. Got my keys. Yeah. Come on, Rocky. Come on, Rocky.
You got your keys?
Yeah, I got my keys. Yeah. Come on, Rocky. Come on, little nigga. Come on, little nigga. Yeah, I got Rocky with me. Come on, Rocky. Ready to walk? See Rocky? This little nigga be stubborn. Come on. Come on, little nigga. There we go. Oh, you want to walk this way? Rocky like trolling. But, yeah, I like Motley Crue. I love Motley Crue. Come on, Rocky. Like, I love Motley Crue. But rock isn't my thing. I'm more funk than I am rock. I'm more jazz than I am blues. You feel me? I'm more R&B than I am hip hop. I'm more funk than I am disco. Everybody got their preference. I'm more funk fusion jazz than smooth jazz. Come on, Rocky.